Welcome to Tales from Panperipta, where clouds wear capes and dreams drift on starlit winds. Each episode brings you gentle, whimsical bedtime stories set in the vast and magical realm of Panperipta, a world full of sleepy trolls, moon-sweeping tinkers, and curious frog inventors. Whether you're here to unwind or doze off, you're always welcome in Panperipta. Take a deep breath and drift.
The Moonbrush Voyage of Nilo Fern Whistle, a fantasy bedtime story from Panperipta. In the soft, shimmering realm of Panperipta, where the clouds drift like cotton dumplings and the rivers hum lullabies, there lived a young tinker named Nilo Fern Whistle. Nilo was not what you'd call a hero. He didn't own a sword, nor did he gallop through forests on a gallant stag. Nilo preferred slow mornings, steeped tea, and the smell of lemon muffins baking in the oven. He lived in a round, ivy-draped cottage nestled in the sleepy village of Wimbledale, where even the roosters crowed politely and the trees never dropped leaves without warning. But one evening, as the golden sun blinked goodnight behind the velvet hills, Nilo found a curious scroll tucked beneath a mushroom by his windowsill. It wasn't addressed to anyone in particular. It simply read, "To whom it may wonder, the moonbrush has vanished. Please bring it back. Sincerely, the sky." Now, Nilo was not one to ignore polite notes from celestial bodies, especially one signed by the sky. So he packed a biscuit satchel, wound up his brass pocket compass, and set off on what he would later call an unusually sparkly errand. Chapter 1. The Whispering Marshmallow Trees. The first stop on Nilo's voyage was the meringue forest, known for its tall, whispering marshmallow trees. Their trunks were soft as velvet, and their leaves exhaled a gentle vanilla scent when the wind passed through. Nilo trudged along the squishy sugar powder path, pausing only to greet the local critters, shy fluff worms and chirruping cotton beetles, until he came upon a tree with eyes. "Evening," it said in a syrupy drawl. "Name's Tafflenut. You look like you're after something." "I'm looking for the moonbrush," said Nilo. "Moonbrush, eh?" The tree pondered, creaking thoughtfully. "That's the broom what sweeps the stars into patterns, right? Keeps the constellations tidy?" Nilo nodded. "Well, rumors had drifted into the skyfold," Tafflenut said, "right past the edge of the snoozing sea." Nilo thanked the talking tree, scribbled "skyfold equals important" in his journal, and pressed onward. Chapter 2. The Snoozing Sea. Now, the snoozing sea wasn't a normal sea. Its waves didn't crash. They sighed. The tide didn't rise. It napped. Boats weren't needed either. Travelers simply curled up on leaf boats and let the sea ferry them on dreams. Nilo found a leaf boat tied to a dock made entirely of dandelion fluff. He climbed aboard, lay down, and soon drifted off to the hum of snoring seagulls and lullabying jellyfish. As he dozed, the sea carried him across its yawning waters until he gently bumped into the skyfold, a place where the sky bent down to kiss the sea. It looked like a curtain made of midnight blue silk with tiny golden threads embroidered into it, threads that sparkled like stars. There, standing patiently at the skyfold, was a girl with starlight in her hair and a backpack full of feathers. "You looking for the moonbrush?" she asked, not unkindly. Nilo blinked. "Yes. Do you know where it went?" The girl nodded. "Name's Pluma. I saw it tumble through a hiccup in the horizon. I followed it, but the hiccup closed behind it. You'll need a cloud key." "A cloud key?" "They're rare, but one grows in the Garden of Unfinished Yawns." Chapter 3. The Garden of Unfinished Yawns. To get to the garden, Pluma lent Nilo a sleep glee, a round, purring balloon animal with wings like a teacup bat and a nose like a marshmallow. Sleep glees only flew where naps had been taken, so they followed a path of abandoned hammocks and snoozing badgers until the landscape brightened into a soft pastel glow. The Garden of Unfinished Yawns was tended by gnomes in pajamas, and every plant seemed halfway between awake and asleep. Tulips yawned without ever closing. Daisies stretched but never fully bloomed. At the garden center stood the cloud key tree, a small silver sapling with puffs of cloud hanging from its branches like fruit. Nilo plucked one, and as soon as he held it, a soft humming sound filled the air. "Careful," whispered one pajama gnome. "That key doesn't open doors. It opens skies." Chapter 4. Through the Skyfold. Back at the skyfold, Nilo held up the cloud key. The air shimmered. The curtain of sky parted with a gentle sigh. Beyond it lay the backside of the sky, a vast realm of floating things, islands of thought, rainbows not yet colored in, forgotten lullabies drifting in the wind like scarves, and there, sweeping gentle arcs across the stardust floor, was the moonbrush. It was larger than Nilo expected, taller than a windmill, and made from the spine of a comet and the tail of a wish. It looked tired. "Oh dear," Nilo murmured. "You've been working too hard, haven't you?" The moonbrush gave a slow spin in the air as if agreeing. So Nilo did the only polite thing. He pulled out a thermos of warm chamomile from his biscuit satchel, poured some into a tiny floating cup, and set it before the moonbrush. The brush dipped its tip into the tea. Steam rose like stardust, and then it sighed. After its rest, the moonbrush gently twirled back into position and offered Nilo a ride on its handle. Together, they glided back through the skyfold, across the snoozing sea, above the meringue forest, and up into the sky. Chapter 5. Painting the Night. That night, with Nilo perched on its handle, the moonbrush returned to work. It swept the stars into shape. A sleepy dragon curled around the moon. A teacup constellation winked above Wimbledale. Even a sleepy snail trail of stardust pointed the way back home. When the work was done, the moonbrush gave Nilo a soft nod and vanished into a sky pouch made of dreams. Nilo, meanwhile, floated gently back into his own bed, his biscuit satchel now half empty, his notebook full of scribbles and stars. And the next morning, Wimbledale villagers awoke to find a new constellation shaped exactly like a tiny teacup and a pair of round spectacles. They named it Fern Whistle's Brew. Epilogue: A Note from the Sky. Weeks later, another scroll arrived on Nilo's windowsill. This one read, "Thank you kindly. Stars are tidy again. Sleep well, the sky." And Nilo did, every night, with a smile, and sometimes, just sometimes, when the clouds part just so, and the sky sparkles a little brighter than usual, you can almost see the moon brush sweeping softly in Panperipta. The bubble glitch clock of Pibbin Froodsnap. In the gurgling green glow realm of Panperipta, where lily pads giggle when stepped on and lightning bugs hum in Morse code, there lived a frog inventor named Pibbin Froodsnap. Pibbin was famous, at least in Boggs Wallow Cove, for two things: his whistling teapot helmet, which occasionally brewed tea on his head, and his delightfully chaotic inventions. He once built a self-stirring soup pot that spun until it achieved consciousness, and a feathered alarm clock that screamed compliments instead of ringing. But none of that compared to his latest masterpiece, the bubble glitch clock, a marsh-powered contraption designed to predict strange moments before they happen. "It's not time travel," Pibbin often explained, goggles askew. "It's wiggle time wobbleology." Chapter 1: A Toadstool Misfire. The tale begins, as many Pibbin tales do, with a bang, or more accurately, a thunk, as the bubble glitch clock spat out a bubble the size of a pumpkin, wobbling with a faint glow. Inside it floated a message, swirling backward before resolving, "Frood's in danger. Fix the flib wobble." Pibbin scratched his chin. A warning, or possibly a prank from my left boot. After confirming that his left boot had recently developed a personality, it was sulking in the cupboard, Pibbin decided to investigate the flib wobble, a forgotten invention from his early days, a jello-powered bridge that led to places that didn't technically exist. It had been decommissioned, or so he thought. Chapter 2: The Jello Bridge Incident. Pibbin traveled by his standard bubble track, bouncing across lily ponds until he reached Wishwobble Hollow, where the old flib wobble sat dormant, twitching faintly like a dreaming pancake. "Oh dear," Pibbin mumbled, "she's humming in her sleep again." Just then, a second bubble popped beside him, revealing the word, "Too late." And with a loud glorp, the flib wobble activated, projecting a gelatinous rainbow arch over the swamp, then swallowing itself and Pibbin into a hiccup of reality. He tumbled through a corridor made of elastic weather, bounced off a cloud made of second guesses, and landed, dazed, in a swamp that time forgot to finish. Everything here was halfway done: frogs with incomplete croaks, trees that paused mid-grow, and shadows that hadn't caught up with their objects. Chapter 3: The Froodsnap Loop. In the distance, Pibbin saw something horrifying. Dozens of versions of himself, all fidgeting, arguing, or tinkering with different bits of the flib wobble. "Great warts," he gasped. It's a fruit snap loop. A future pibbin rolled up in a floating teacup. You again, future pibbin grumbled. We've been trying to fix the flib wobble for 11 Tuesdays. No use. Every time we think we've solved it, it resets us, past pibbin finished. Classic loop. They shared a sigh. Then present pibbin had an idea. Have we ever tried not fixing it? The other pibbins paused. One stopped mid-monologue. Another dropped a wrench. All turned slowly. "Oh, croak," whispered a pibbin in a lab coat. "You might be on to something." Chapter 4. Let It Glitch. They did nothing. The flib-wobble rumbled. It groaned, it twanged, and then it sighed. A gentle ripple passed through the swamp as the loop released itself, unwinding the tangled timeline like a thread pulled from a stubborn sock. Each duplicate pibbin gave a thumbs up, winked, or exploded into glittering bubble foam, vanishing into their proper timelines. Present Pibbin found himself back in his bog lab, teacup helmet slightly ajar. The bubble glitch clock blinked once, then stopped. No more warnings, no more loops. Just a faint glow that pulsed softly in the shape of a frog's smile. Epilogue. The Award. The next morning, a bubble floated gently onto Pibbin's porch. Inside it was a tiny scroll. "Well done. You've untangled a bubble knot in the weft of Wen. Please accept this honorary medal of temporal gumption. The Ministry of Peculiar Time." Pibbin proudly pinned the invisible medal to his lab coat. Then his left boot sneezed, and a new invention began forming in his mind. He called it the Tea-Clockular Muffinizer. But that's a tale for another evening. The Puzzle of the Skyvine Bell. In the misted, high-perched realm of Panperipta, where the wind combs the clouds into braids and mountains wear shawls of starlight, there lived a princess named Rena of Cloud Petal Spire. Princess Rena was unlike any other royal in the cloud-drifting kingdoms. She didn't attend many galas, and she wasn't fond of trumpets. What she did love were puzzles, especially those that came without instructions. Her favorite companion was Pip, a talking umbrella, who often muttered complaints about altitude and precipitation. They lived in Cloud Petal Spire, a floating tower anchored to a drifting cumulonimbus by vines of moonlace. One foggy morning, a bell rang at the edge of the sky, a sound no one had heard in 1,000 twilights. The Skyvine bell had been silent for ages, used only in old legends to signal a shift in the wind's will. Rena was eating a spoonful of blueberry cloud jelly when she heard it. Doom. Pip shuddered. That's not a breakfast kind of sound. No, Rena whispered. It's a mystery kind of sound. And she was already packing her satchel. Chapter 1. The Spiral Up. To reach the bell, Rena had to climb the stair of aerial whimsy, a spiral of floating stones that only appeared when asked politely. She curtsied to the sky, whispered a riddle, and the first stone winked into view. Each step floated into position only after a clever guess. "What is lighter than air but full of weight?" Rena answered, "A promise." The stair responded with a shimmer and lifted her higher. Eventually, she reached the horizon ledge, where the sky vine bell was rooted to a celestial tendril the width of a wishbone. The bell had stopped ringing. Beneath it, tied in a bowl of wind thread, was a note. "To the one who hears, something has come undone in the weather skein. Wind is misbehaving. The balance tilts. Please follow the breeze that forgets where it's going. Signed, the Altitude Archivist." Rena blinked. "The weather skein?" Pip fluttered his canopy. "Sounds frayed, like your last knitting project." Chapter 2. The Forgetful Breeze. Rena leaned over the ledge. She could just barely feel a breeze tugging the wrong way, upward instead of sideways, and warm when it should have been wistful. She tossed a paper glider with a silver thread attached. It twirled, danced, and darted, clearly unsure of its path. They followed it. The breeze led them into Fog Quilt Hollow, a patch of drifting softness that tangled time like yarn. The fog mumbled to itself, and the shadows of birds flew backward. In the center stood a weather weaver's loom, unattended and unthreaded. A heap of wind spools lay in disarray, gusts unraveled, breezes bottled, zephyrs half died, and standing in the middle of it all, chewing a knotted gust like bubble gum, was a cloud rabbit. "Oh, sorry," it squeaked, startled. "I was just tidying a squall when the thread slipped." Rena gently picked up a knotted strand of sky blue. "The weather skein's off balance," she said. "I tried to fix it," the rabbit admitted, "but I can't read patterns." Chapter 3. The Puzzle Pattern. Luckily, Rena could. She examined the leftover patterns carved into the windstones, a sequence of braids, spirals, and weft loops that mapped the season's dance. The solution wasn't to fix one breeze. It was to restore the rhythm of the loom. Working together, Rena rethreaded the loom with threads of sunset sighs, spring giggles, and one very rare snore gust, gathered from a sleepy thundercloud. Pip held the umbrella high as Rena guided the rhythm. The loom hummed, the spools turned, the sky vine bell gave a soft chime. The breeze straightened its tie and resumed proper etiquette. Chapter 4. The Return. Back at Cloud Petal's spire, the clouds had reshaped into gentle tears. Birds flew in the correct direction, and tea no longer poured upward. A scroll arrived that evening, folded into a breeze-wrapped blossom. "Princess Rena, the skies thank you. The Altitude Archivist sends regards and a puzzle. You'll find it under your teacup. With windward appreciation, the weather-skiing guild. Rena lifted her teacup. There it was, a puzzle ring made from braided breeze thread and a riddle carved in dew. She smiled. Another mystery for breakfast. Pip groaned. Epilogue. Cloud clarity. From then on, when the skyvine bell tolled, it didn't sound an alarm, but an invitation. And sometimes, just sometimes, if you're very quiet on a wind-brushed morning, you might hear Rena whispering riddles to the breeze, while her umbrella grumbles about altitude nearby. Now take a deep breath and drift.
Panperipta grows quiet for now, but its skies still shimmer and its stories never sleep. Stay as long as you like. Another tale is always waiting. Take a deep breath and drift.